Hello, welcome to Meta Perfume. I am Emily here again today with Twixie, and I'm going to continue my series on the Fantasy line by Britney Spears. And I was holding out. I had all of the fantasies that I could find that I knew of, except for the Fantasy Intense. But after reading, I didn't get that one because I didn't like the original Fantasy enough, and I imagined that the Fantasy Intense was like that, just more intense, and I was like, I don't really like that enough to get it in a more intense version. However, after researching and reading some reviews and learning a little bit more about it, I realized that it was different enough from the original Fantasy, even though the notes are very similar. It was different enough that, and it actually got good reviews, that I bought it. So I have a more complete set, and it's actually better than I expected it would be. And yeah, it actually rates higher on Fragrantica than regular Fantasy does. Fantasy Intense. I think a better name for it would be Fantasy Improved because it is the DNA of Fantasy, but with some subtle tweaks that are pretty significant in terms of making it just a little more crowd pleasing, I think, and a little less sugary sweet, kind of intense in that way. So it's Fantasy Improved in my book. It is, well, we'll just get into the review. So it's got a pretty red, like dark red bottle. It's kind of pink when the light goes through it, like a magenta. You can see that. It's a little, yeah, there we go. And I'll put the notes up here. So the notes are pretty close to the original Fantasy. Top notes are lychee, pear, and kiwi. The top notes in the original Fantasy are kiwi, red lychee, and quince. So take out the quince and replace it with pear. But they also dialed back the top notes generally in this fragrance. So the base notes become a little bit more prominent. The middle notes in this one are white chocolate, cupcake, jasmine, and orchid. And that is the same set of notes that's in the original Fantasy, but they think they tweaked the ratios a little bit because the jasmine and orchid are reversed. So maybe they've added a little more jasmine and a little less orchid, not sure. But those are there. And then the base has patchouli, woodsy notes, musk, and orris root. So the base notes are the same with the addition of patchouli, but they've also dialed up, I think, the woodsy notes a little bit more and the musk a little bit more. So the base has become more prominent in Fantasy Intense. The top has become a little bit less prominent. And according to the votes, and I'll put side by side with the votes up there too, you can see that the white chocolate and the cupcake are still pretty prominent, but the woodsy notes are more prominent. I'm sorry, the base notes with the woodsy notes and the musk are more prominent, and of course the patchouli. But the patchouli is well balanced. It's not super significant. I think patchouli makes it last a little bit longer. It adds a bit of maturity to the fragrance. It makes it, with the woodsy notes, it makes it just a little bit more earthy and a bit less sweet with that quince. Now, pear can be a pretty sweet note, but it's subtle. Like the amount that they put in to this is not really significant. So I think like I wouldn't have known that it had pear in it if I hadn't read the notes. It's pretty. And the orris root gives it just this like slight powderiness, I think. It's got a really pretty opening. You can definitely tell it's like reminiscent of Fantasy, but again, like I said, improved version. Not quite so sweet, sweet, more like balanced with the sweetness and the earthiness of the patchouli and the woodsy notes. And then those top notes are just giving it this like sweetness that's comforting. I don't know, it's nice. It's nice. I definitely would find myself reaching for this one more often. And I think it's one of those fragrances that's really middle of the road in terms of seasonality. Like this could be a summer, maybe summer night fragrance with an application that was, you know, 3 or 4 sprays. And then in the winter, you could maybe go 7 or 8 sprays to make it last a little bit longer. And the patchouli is subtle enough, like it definitely adds, I think, to the composition, even if you're not a huge patchouli fan. I mean, if you really hate patchouli, maybe you don't want anything with any patchouli in it, but I think the patchouli in this is so subtle and so complementary to the other notes that it's not gonna bother patchouli haters for the most part, unless you're an extreme patchouli hater. But I like patchouli, I do. I like, just like the way this is mixed. I think it's, you know, for the price point on these, generally less than $30 for a full-size bottle, it's a really good value in my opinion, like the whole line generally. Excuse me. This was released in 2021, so it is relatively new, fairly easy to find. You can pick it up on Fragrance Net, and yeah, it's just a good one. It's a good, I would say, you know, one of the nicer, more crowd-pleasing fragrances in the fantasy line. Good job, Britney. So that's it. If you like this video, please give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed, that would be fantastic. I would really appreciate it. If you could subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.